It started with a cello. Asterisk, not a real cello. Luca had never seen one. Not that he would know what it looked like anyway. But the sound came into his ears one afternoon, warm and deep, like a voice humming in the quiet. It happened when his small fingers brushed against the edge of a painting. He was 7 years old the first time it happened. That day, his mother was late picking him up from school. Again, the school secretary, Mrs. Talbot, gave him her usual tight smile and let him sit near the big desk while she made calls. But Luca didn't mind waiting. He had his cane and his ears, and those two things were enough for him. Asterisk, when his mother finally arrived, out of breath and full of apologies, she led him to the car with one hand and held her phone in the other. Asterisk, I'm sorry, baby, they called me in to clean the museum early today. Do you want to sit in the back office with my things? Or ... I want to walk around, Luca said softly. Sophia paused. Luca, you know you can't just walk around by yourself. Asterisk, I'll stay close, he promised. I'll follow the walls. Asterisk, she looked unsure, but she didn't have time to argue. All right, but you stay on the first floor. And if you get lost, asterisk, I'll sit down and call for help. Asterisk, Sophia kissed his forehead, pressed a soft cloth into his hand. It smelled like lemons and wood polish, and then hurried off to start her shift. Luca tapped his cane against the cool tile floor as he moved slowly, counting each step. The museum was quiet like a big sleeping animal. There were voices far off, echoing in the halls, but here it was just him, and the sounds of his cane, the distant hum of lights, and the smell of paint and time. Asterisk, he liked it here. It was the only place where the silence didn't feel empty. Asterisk, as he made his way along the wall, his hand brushed something large aframe. It had sharp corners and a rough wooden edge. He stopped. With both hands, he reached up carefully and placed his palms on the surface of the painting. And that's when he heard it. A deep, low sound like a cello being played softly. It moved through him, warm and slow. He didn't understand it, but it made him stop breathing for a moment. The sound filled his head, not like a noise in the room, but something inside him. He pulled his hands away and the music stopped. He touched it again. The cello returned. He smiled. A full, round smile. That pushed his cheeks up and lit up his whole face. There was a sound in the painting. A sound he could feel. A sound he could hear. That day changed everything. Over the next few weeks, he returned to the museum after school whenever his mother worked. And every time, he went straight to the paintings. Asterisk. Some were silent. Others whispered faintly, like the rustle of leaves. But just a few sang. Asterisk, blue ones had soft wind sounds. Green ones hummed like crickets or morning dew. But red was always the cello. Asterisk, he never told anyone. Not even his mother. She would say it was his imagination. Or worse, get worried and taken to another doctor. Asterisk, Luca didn't want doctors. He wanted the music. Asterisk, one afternoon, as he stood in front of a painting of a girl holding a red umbrella, he heard a strange mix of sounds. The cello was there, yes, but there was also something behind it. A soft dripping noise, like water falling onto stone, and under that a faint sobbing. Asterisk, he frowned. He leaned closer. Asterisk, the crying was faint, like it had come from long ago. But it was there, hidden in the paint. Asterisk, Luca reached out, running his fingers gently over the brushstrokes. He could feel the dried bumps and grooves, the path of the painter's hand. The red umbrella was wide and full of energy. But the girl's face he touched where it should be felt small, tight. Asterisk. Why was the girl crying? Asterisk, he stayed there alone. Time until his mother came looking for him. Asterisk, Luca. I told you not to wander too far. Asterisk. I didn't, he said quickly. I was just listening. Asterisk, Sophia blinked. Listening to what? Asterisk, Luca paused. To the painting. Asterisk, she gave him a look. The kind grown-ups give when they think children are being silly, but don't want to argue. All right, maestro, let's go. Asterisk, but that night. He couldn't sleep. Asterisk, he kept hearing that faint sobbing in the back of his mind. It felt real, like someone had put their sadness into the painting and left it there, hidden, and only he could hear it. As he grew older, his gift became clearer. He stopped needing to touch the paintings to hear them. It was enough to stand close. The sounds became richer, more detailed. He learned to tell the difference between angry red sharp violins, peaceful red deep cellos, and love red slow piano keys. He discovered that old paintings had slower, deeper sounds, while newer ones were brighter and faster. Some felt like laughter. Some felt like shouting. Some were just ... empty. When he turned 10, he met Eli. Eli was a young man who worked at the museum part-time. He was tall and thin, with messy blonde hair and glasses that always slipped down his nose. Luca liked him right away because Eli never talked to him like a baby. Asterisk. Do you like art? Eli asked one day, crouching beside him. Asterisk. I like the sounds. Luca replied. Asterisk, Eli blinked. The sounds? Asterisk, Luca hesitated. Can I tell you something? But you have to promise not to think I'm weird. Asterisk. I promise. Asterisk, so Luca told him about the cello. The crying. The colors that sang. Asterisk, to his surprise, Eli didn't laugh. He just sat there quietly. Asterisk. That's amazing, Eli said. You might have something called synesthesia. It's rare. Some people can see sounds or taste colors. That I've never heard of someone who hears paintings. Asterisk. They don't talk. They ... sing, Luca said. Only some of them. The ones that have real feelings in them. Asterisk, Eli thought for a moment. Maybe you're not hearing the paint. Maybe you're hearing the person who made it. That made sense to Luca. It wasn't just the colors or the strokes. It was the emotion, the story hidden in the image. And somehow, he could reach it. Asterisk, Eli began bringing him to rooms that were normally closed to the public. He would unlock the basement or take him to the restoration room. Asterisk, Luca loved it. Down there, among the old and forgotten paintings, he felt like a treasure hunter. Asterisk, one day, they came across a strange, dust-covered canvas in the storage room. Asterisk, it wasn't in a frame. The edges were torn. The picture showed a young man in uniform standing beside a girl on a railway platform. It was painted in soft browns and greys, except for one thing, the girl's scarf. It was red. Bright, beautiful red. Luca stepped closer. And suddenly he heard it. Asterisk. But this time, it wasn't music. It wasn't even just crying. It was a scream. A long, silent scream buried deep beneath layers of paint and silence. It made Luca stumble backward. Asterisk, Eli caught him. Are you okay? Asterisk, Luca's face was pale. That painting is screaming. Eli looked at the canvas, then back at Luca. I think we need to find out who painted this. Luca nodded slowly. For the first time, he wasn't just hearing paintings. Asterisk, he was going to follow them. The painting was heavier than it looked. Asterisk, Eli carried it gently, holding the canvas like it was a sleeping child. Luca walked beside him, his cane tapping lightly on the floor, guiding him through the back hallway of the museum. Asterisk, they took it to the restoration room, a space filled with strong smells, chemicals, dust, and old wood. To Luca, it always smelled like forgotten memories. Eli laid the painting on a long table and switched on a lamp. Luca didn't need to see it. He could already hear it. The scream hadn't faded. It wasn't loud like a siren. It was deeper, buried inside the painting like something trapped. It pulsed beneath the colors, especially around the red scarf. That red had a different sound than any other he had heard before. Not a cello, not a violin. It was more like broken glass falling. In slow motion. Eli examined the edges. There's no name, no signature. Can you hear it? Luca asked quietly. Eli paused. I can't hear anything. Just looks like an old wall painting. Luca touched the edge of the canvas with one fingertip. The scream rushed through him again. He pulled back. She's in pain, he whispered. The girl. Luca nodded. Eli crouched beside him. Do you think it's a real person? I don't know, Luca said, his voice shaky. But she's scared. She didn't want him to leave. Eli looked at the painting again. The man looks like a soldier. Maybe he went to war. Maybe he never came back, Luca replied. They sat in silence. Luca didn't need to see, to feel how sad the room became. The painting made the air heavy. Eli ran a hand through his hair. Let's try something. I'll do some research on old paintings from this region. Maybe we'll find something. That night, Luca couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, his ears filled with sounds that weren't real to anyone else. The cello of the red umbrella. The laughter of a blue lake. The gentle piano of a yellow flower. And now this scream. It wouldn't leave him. The next day, after school, he returned to the museum with his mother. Sophia was tired. Her hands smelled like soap, and her shirt had bleach stains. You going to the back again? She asked. Luca nodded. Eli said I could help. Help? With what? Looking for a painter. Sophia raised an eyebrow. A painter. What? For Luca hesitated. To find out why she's screaming. Sophia gave him a long look, but she didn't ask more. All right, be careful. He found Eli in the back room, hunched over a laptop. The painting was beside him on the table, partially covered with a cloth. I think I found something, Eli said. There was a local painter in the 1940s. His name was Thomas Greer. He was young when he started. His work got darker during the war. People say he lost someone close to him. Did he paint this? Luca asked. There's no record of this exact painting. But the style ... the color tones ... it matches. What happened to him? Eli leaned back. He disappeared. No one really knows. Some say he went mad. Others say he stopped painting after the war. Luca placed his hand near the girl's scarf again. She was still crying. And behind the scream, he heard something else. A whisper. It was faint. So faint that Luca had to press both palms to the canvas. I waited. He gasped and stepped back. Eli stood up quickly. What happened? She spoke, Luca said. I heard her voice. Eli stared at the painting. What did she say? I waited. Eli swallowed hard. That's not possible. I'm telling the truth, Luca said, his voice shaking. I know you are, Eli replied. That's what scares me. They spent the rest of the week looking through old documents, museum records, and even dusty newspaper articles. Eli brought in a stack of black and white photos. One photo made Luca stop breathing. Asterisk, it was a picture of a girl on a train platform. She wore a bright red scarf. That's her, Luca whispered. You sure? Asterisk, I can hear her just looking at it. Asterisk, Eli flipped the photo over. There was a handwritten name. Marianne West. She had died in 1944. No husband. No children. Cause of death. Unknown. Maybe she never moved on, Luca said. Eli looked pale. Luca, do you think the painting is haunted? Asterisk, I don't think it's a ghost, Luca said slowly. I think it's a memory. A loud one. Asterisk the more. Luca listened to the painting. The more pieces he heard. A train whistle. A promise, I'll come back. Footsteps walking away. And Marianne's voice whispering into the wind. Don't go. Don't leave me. One afternoon, Luca made a decision. I want to talk to her. Asterisk, Eli blinked. Luca. Asterisk. I can't ignore it anymore. She wants someone to hear her. Asterisk, Eli sighed. All right, but we do it together. No scary stuff alone. Asterisk, they brought the painting into a smaller room, dimly lit and quiet. Luca sat on a stool and placed both hands on the canvas. He closed his eyes. First, the scream was all he heard. Asterisk, then the cello returned. Then the whisper. Then, a memory. It came in flashes. Images he couldn't see but could feel. Asterisk. A cold station. Soldiers in grey coats. The smell of steam and smoke. And Marianne, her hands shaking, her scarf blowing in the wind. Asterisk, she wasn't just sad. She was waiting, and waiting, and waiting. Luca whispered, He never came back, did he? The voice answered, No. Asterisk, what happened to him? Asterisk, gone. Asterisk, the voice was like wind in his ear, like someone speaking through fog. Asterisk, why are you still here? Luca asked. There was a pause. Then softly, because he never said goodbye. Luca felt something inside him twist. He reached out and touched the red scarf again. Asterisk, I'm sorry, he whispered. He should have said goodbye. The scream inside the painting changed. It softened, shifted, turned into something else, a slow, fading note, like the last key of a piano echoing in a dark room. Asterisk, and then it stopped. Luca opened his eyes. The painting was silent. Asterisk, Luca? Eli asked. What happened? Asterisk, she left, Luca whispered. She heard me. Asterisk, Eli looked at the painting. The red scarf still glowed, but the air around it felt lighter. Asterisk, she's at peace? Asterisk, Luca nodded slowly. She said goodbye. Asterisk, from that day on, the painting never screamed again. But Luca knew something had changed in him. He could do more than hear paintings. He could listen. And sometimes, when a memory was trapped inside color and canvas, he could help it speak. Luca didn't expect anything to change, but something had. Asterisk. After the painting of Marianne, his gift became ... stronger. Asterisk, it was like opening a door he never knew was there. Before, he had to focus deeply to hear anything beyond the music of color and strokes. But now, the emotions in each painting leapt toward him. Clear and sharp, some joyful, some terrible, some soft like a breeze across the grass. He began to walk slower in the museum, not because he was unsure, but because he was overwhelmed. Every room was a chorus of memories. And sometimes, He heard things he didn't want to hear. One Saturday morning, Luca sat in his usual place near the sculpture exhibit, while his mother cleaned the glass windows nearby. The museum was quiet except for the echo of her cloth moving in circles and the sound of Luca's cane resting against the wall. Eli was late, so, to pass time, Luca moved toward a room he hadn't entered much before. It was the portrait gallery. Rows and rows of painted faces staring out from behind their frames. Some were small, others large. Men in suits. Women in hats. Children frozen in playful poses. He didn't like portraits much. Most of them were quiet. Still, like the people had smiled for the painter but didn't leave anything behind. Just a shell. But one painting pulled him in. It was a small canvas, not very large, hanging by itself between two windows. It showed a little girl, maybe 6 years old, with golden curls and a sky blue dress. She sat on a white chair in front of a garden full of tulips. Her hands were folded on her lap. Her smile was small and sweet, almost shy. But Luca froze, because behind the smile, he heard something. Nothing. Not silence like peace. Silence like fear. He stepped closer. There was no music in the painting. No cello, no violins, not even the soft wind sounds he usually found in gardens or skies. Instead, the canvas felt like a wall, blank, stiff, afraid to move. It was the kind of silence you heard when someone was too scared to speak. He reached out and gently placed one hand on the lower edge. And then it hit him. A sound like someone holding their breath. Long, shaky. And beneath it, the faintest sound of footsteps, pacing, heavy boots on a wooden floor. Then a whisper. Don't cry. He'll hear you. Luca jerked back. His heart raced. That whisper didn't come from the girl. It came from someone behind her, but there was no one else in the painting. He touched the frame again. The garden was fake. He could feel it. It had been painted quickly. Background noise. The real focus was the girl. But even she wasn't full. Her smile had no weight, no warmth. Just survival. Someone had made her smile. Forced her to. Why would someone paint that? Luca whispered. He didn't expect an answer, but the painting gave one. A soft, fearful voice inside his head. To keep the secret. Luca stumbled backward and bumped into the wall. A security guard came around the corner. Hey, you okay? Kid? Luca nodded quickly. I just lost my balance. He rushed back to the cleaning closet where his mother was folding her rags. She looked up, surprised. You're back early. I don't like that room, he said, shaking. Sophia crouched beside him. Did someone say something? Luca shook his head. No, but one of the paintings is sad. Really sad. Sophia smiled gently. All paintings are a little sad. That's how they last. But this was different. That night, Luca couldn't sleep again. He kept hearing the whisper Don't cry. He'll hear you. He told Eli about it the next day. Eli listened without interrupting, his brow furrowed. You're sure it wasn't just a creepy painting? I'm sure, Luca said. There's something trapped in there. Something scared. Eli looked up the portrait in the museum's digital log. It says the artist is Ruth Albury. Painted in 1962. The girl's name was Emily Rohn. Says she lived nearby. No other info. Luca frowned. Do you think she's still alive? Eli paused. She might be. She'd be in her 60s or 70s now. Asterisk Luca whispered. Then, maybe she remembers. Asterisk the next week, Eli used his lunch breaks to dig deeper. He searched public records, newspaper articles, and old museum letters. Asterisk finally, he found something. Emily Rohn had vanished in 1964. She was 8 years old. Asterisk no trace. No suspect. Just a photograph of her in the local paper with the caption. Asterisk. Last seen in her backyard garden. Asterisk asterisk Luca felt the air grow cold around him. Asterisk. That's the garden in the painting, he said. But it's not real. It's just paint. Maybe the painter tried to recreate it from memory, Eli said. No, Luca replied slowly. The painting was made to hide the truth. Asterisk Eli looked startled. You think the painter knew something? Asterisk Luca nodded. The girl wasn't smiling because she was happy. She was smiling because someone told her to. They brought the painting down from the wall. In the quiet of the restoration room, Luca touched it again, this time gently, with care. And this time he pushed deeper. He heard a voice. A grown woman's voice. Emily's voice, older now. It trembled. Asterisk, I used to sit in that chair for hours. He told me to stay still. To smile. To never cry. Asterisk. Who? Luca whispered. Asterisk. The voice didn't answer directly. But another whisper came. Asterisk. I wasn't the only one. Asterisk then. As if a door had opened behind the painting, Luca felt a flood of images. A room with dark curtains. A man's angry voice. A mother looking away. A garden used as a trap to make everything look normal. Tears welled in Luca's eyes. This wasn't just art. It was a cage. The painting had been hiding something for decades, something terrible. Asterisk. But why was it in a museum? Asterisk Eli, Luca said. Quietly. Who donated this painting? Eli typed quickly, his eyes scanning. He froze. Asterisk what? Luca asked. Asterisk. The museum director's family. This painting came from his father's private collection. Asterisk Luca's stomach turned. What? If the man in the story ... was him? Eli looked pale. If this is true, Luca ... this could ruin the museum. Asterisk. But it could free her, Luca said. The girl. Eli stared at the screen. Then he stood up, walked over to the painting, and placed a cloth over it. I need to think, he said. That night, Luca had a dream. Asterisk Emily stood in front of him, not as a girl, but a grown woman. Her smile was real this time. Her eyes kind. And she said only one thing. Asterisk. Thank you for listening. Then she faded into the garden, and the garden turned real. The next morning, the museum was quiet, too quiet. Asterisk Sophia dropped Luca off as usual, but the atmosphere inside felt heavy. No music played in the gift shop. The security guards didn't smile, and the front desk manager spoke in whispers. Asterisk something had happened. Asterisk, when Luca reached the back room, he found Eli pacing, running both hands through his messy hair. His laptop was open, but the screen was dark. The covered painting of Emily leaned against the wall. Asterisk, I made a mistake, Eli said. As soon as Luca entered, Asterisk Luca paused. What happened? Asterisk. I told the museum board what we found. I said the painting might be connected to a missing child case. I didn't mention your gift, just that something felt wrong about it. Luca held his breath. Eli sighed, sinking into a chair. They removed the painting from the gallery. They locked it in storage and told me to forget about it. Asterisk forget. Luca whispered. Asterisk. They said the past is the past. They don't want bad press. Especially not about the director's father. Asterisk Luca clenched his fists. But she's still there. Asterisk. I know, Eli said softly. And they don't care. Asterisk Luca walked over to the painting. Still under the cloth. He rested his hand on it. The garden was quiet now. Emily's voice didn't come. Asterisk, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. Like she was waiting again. That night, Luca thought about the other paintings, how some cried, some whispered, and some just stayed silent. How many other stories were trapped in frames and forgotten? Asterisk, he couldn't let that happen to Emily. Asterisk, so, the next day, he asked Eli a question that made the young man go still. Asterisk, are there more paintings from that collection? Asterisk, Eli hesitated. Why? Asterisk, because I think they're connected. Asterisk, Eli nodded slowly. There's one room, not open to the public. It's unofficial, only staff are allowed inside. We call it the gallery that shouldn't exist. Asterisk Lucas. Heart raced. Take me there. Eli didn't answer right away. But later that afternoon, after the museum had closed and most of the staff had gone home, he led Luca down a hallway Luca had never walked before. They passed locked doors and dusty cases. At the very end was a black metal door with a keypad. Asterisk, Eli entered a code. The door clicked. Inside was a narrow room lined with paintings that had never seen the light of day. Asterisk. There were no plaques. No artist names. Just rows of dark, heavy frames. Leaning against the walls. Asterisk. This is where the paintings that are uncomfortable end up. Eli whispered. Asterisk. Uncomfortable? Luca asked. Asterisk. Too sad. Too strange. Too haunted. Most come from private collectors who donated them decades ago. No one talks about them. Luca stepped forward. The room wasn't loud. It was dense, as if the air itself was thick with emotion. Asterisk, he moved slowly, reaching out toward the nearest painting. Asterisk, before his fingers touched it, he heard it, a soft thumping sound like a heartbeat. Or maybe knocking. The painting pulsed with energy. Not rage. Not grief. Something else. He touched it and saw fire. Asterisk, flames consuming a house. A woman screaming a name. A child behind a window, banging on the glass. The color red screamed, but not the cello kind. This was sirens and shattered glass and pain too big for words. Asterisk, Luca stumbled back. Eli caught him again. What did you see? Asterisk, Luca gasped. A fire. A boy, he was trapped. Asterisk, Eli looked toward the painting. There's no record of a fire painting. But this one, he picked up a clipboard, was found after a house in the countryside burned down in 1975. No one claimed it. It just appeared. No artist, no buyer. Asterisk, Luca whispered. The boy's still inside it. Asterisk, Eli swallowed hard. Do you want to stop? Asterisk, Luca shook his head. I want to find the truth. They moved from one painting to the next. A woman sitting in a bathtub. The sound of dripping water. A soft lullaby sung off key. Asterisk, a man in a forest. The crunch of snow. A whisper. Asterisk. He never forgave me. Asterisk, asterisk, a child staring at a window. The tapping of rain. And a single phrase repeated over and over. When will Daddy come home? Asterisk, each painting was a frozen moment of deep, hidden emotion. Each was a secret. I don't think these paintings were made for beauty, Luca said quietly. Asterisk. No, Eli agreed. They were made because someone needed to let something out. Asterisk. Or trap something in, Luca added. Asterisk near the far end of the gallery. They found a painting covered with black cloth different from the others. Eli looked confused. Asterisk. This wasn't here before. He removed the cloth. It was a painting of a white house with a large porch. The sun was shining. Children played in the yard. A woman sat in a rocking chair smiling. Asterisk. But Luca froze, because the painting was screaming, not one voice. Many, dozens, crying, begging, screaming. It was chaos beneath the beauty. He touched it and was knocked back by a wave of noise so loud. He covered his ears. Eli rushed to him. Luca? Asterisk. Luca's face was pale. That house. Something horrible happened there. Eli glanced at the clipboard. No record. Nothing. It had just appeared. Asterisk. I think these paintings are coming here on their own. Luca whispered. Asterisk. Eli stared at him. What do you mean? Asterisk. They're not just art anymore. They're memories that need to be heard. He stepped closer to the house painting again, shaking. Something inside is trapped. He placed his hand near the center where the rocking chair was. And suddenly, everything went quiet. Too quiet. Then a voice, faint but clear. Asterisk. They never believed me. Asterisk. Asterisk. The woman in the chair. Her smile had a secret behind it. What? Didn't they believe? Luca whispered. More voices came. Lied about everything. Asterisk. She tried to tell them. Asterisk. They called her mad. Asterisk. She wasn't. Asterisk. Luca turned toward Eli, voice trembling. This isn't just one memory. It's many. They're connected. Like they're drawn here. Eli said nothing. Then, a sound neither of them expected. Knocking. 3 soft knocks from the painting. Luca stepped back. The knocking continued. At this time from behind the painting. Eli pulled it away from the wall. Nothing. Just stone. But the sound didn't stop. The room grew colder. Then the lights flickered. Eli grabbed Luca's hand. We need to leave. But now. Asterisk. They locked the gallery and hurried out. Asterisk. But as they walked back through the halls, Luca heard something he couldn't explain. Asterisk. A voice whispering through the walls. His name. Not calling. Not warning. Just ... knowing. Luca didn't sleep for 3 nights. The voices wouldn't let him. They didn't scream or cry anymore. They whispered. Some soft and broken. Some distant, like echoes in a cave. Some saying his name over and over. Not in fear. In hope. Asterisk like. They had been waiting for someone like him. Someone who could hear. On the 4th day, Eli called. Asterisk. They're removing the gallery. Asterisk. Luca's heart stopped. What? Asterisk. The board says it's unsafe. They want to clean out the storage rooms. Get rid of anything with ... bad energy, as they put it. Asterisk. Are they destroying the paintings? Eli didn't answer. They can't, Luca said, his voice shaking. That's like burying people alive. Asterisk. I know, Eli said quietly. But they don't believe what we know. They don't hear what you hear. Asterisk. Luca sat on the floor, holding the phone to his chest. The paintings have come to the museum for a reason. Each one was a voice, a cry, a truth locked in time. And now those truths were going to be erased, silenced. He couldn't let that happen. Asterisk. I need to go back, he whispered. Eli picked him up after dark. They didn't tell anyone. They snuck through the back, past the sleeping alarms, past the rooms of still art, into the shadows where the real memories lived. The gallery that shouldn't exist. The door creaked open. It was colder than last time. Too cold. Luca stepped inside. He didn't need to touch anything now. He felt everything. The fire painting hummed with panic. The bathtub one cried softly. The child by the window whispered, Please listen. The house painting, the one with the smile that hid the screams, was waiting. Eli shivered. Luca ... Are you sure you want to do this? Luca nodded. If we don't listen, they disappear. He walked to the center of the room and placed his hand on the house painting. And this time, he didn't hold back. He let the voices come. All of them. They filled the air like wind in a storm. He saw images real, raw, painful. A girl crying behind a locked door. A boy hiding under a bed while someone shouted outside. A woman screaming for help and no one answering. Each painting added a piece. Each story connected. Each one had come from the same house. The house in the painting. Different years. Different people. Same place. Same evil. And every person who had suffered that had been painted. Not by a famous artist, not by those who survived. Or those who couldn't speak in any other way. Their pain had left fingerprints on canvas. And now all of them are calling to him. Luca whispered. You're not alone. The voices quieted. One voice rose above the others. A girl. Maybe 10 years old. Will you remember us? Luca nodded. I will. Will you tell the world? Yes. Even if they don't believe you. I'll still tell it. Eli stepped closer. What's happening? They want to be remembered, Luca whispered. Not as ghosts, not as lost people, just ... Remembered. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. And when he opened them, he heard nothing. The room was quiet, not the silence of fear. The silence of peace. The paintings had changed. The house painting no longer screamed. The colors looked softer. The rocking chair was empty now, the smile gone. The children in the yard looked real. Honest. Like they had been released. The fire painting was cold ash now. The child no longer behind the window. The bathtub no longer echoed. The child at the window had walked away. They left. Luca sighed. Eli swallowed. You helped them. Luca reached for his cane. We need to show people. Not just art lovers. Everyone. These paintings, they're more than paint. Will anyone believe us? Maybe not, Luca said. But maybe. Someone like me will come one day. And they'll hear. The next morning, the board arrived to clear the gallery. But it was empty. No paintings. Just blank walls. They searched for hours. No one knew what happened. But Luca knew. The memories had been set free. Eli quit the museum a week later. He and Luca began building something new. A digital archive. A gallery of voices. Each piece came with a story, not about brushstrokes or styles, but about what the art made people feel. No ghosts. No drama. Just truth. Sometimes people sent in photos of old, strange paintings. Some described hearing things. Others simply said they felt something unusual. Luca listened to every one. He still went silent sometimes, head tilted, hand hovering, near the screen. Sometimes he smiled. Sometimes he cried. Asterisk, and sometimes he wrote back to people and said, asterisk, asterisk, I believe you. Asterisk, asterisk, when he turned 16, someone sent in a painting. It was a boy sitting alone in a dark room. The paint was rough, black and grey, but on the floor next to the boy was a single streak of red. Luca clicked to open the audio description. Asterisk there. Was no music, just silence, but he didn't need to listen. Asterisk, he already knew what it was. It was him. Painted by a girl in another town. A girl who had never met him. A girl who could feel what he had once felt. Asterisk, he sat quietly and whispered, I hear you. Asterisk, and far away, another child, maybe one who had never spoken before, smiled. Asterisk, because sometimes being heard was all anyone ever wanted. Asterisk, the end.